Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks, wherever you may be watching. This is our season launch show for 2023. A new face on the panel. Well, new, old, in between. The magnificent Tommy Jabor is joining us. How are you, Tommy Jabor?
Fantastic. The more things change, the more they say the same. It's my 15-year anniversary since I started on the Grassroots Footy Show with Mick Emmett, Kim Hillard, David Green. I was a slim man in black, and now I'm a fat man in blue, but I'm just as excited as I was 15 years ago.
Each their own, Tommy. We love you, mate. My name is Tony Neal, for those of you who wouldn't know that, but most people would these days. First of all, magnificent show coming up. We've got 3 specific areas tonight, Tommy. What have we got coming up?
We talk about sponsors and who they are, our broadcast partners and our stats partners.
And also, of course, our magnificent interviews, because I went out to the Wakefield Sports Clinic. I'll tell you what, did I learn some stuff out there, fair income. Now,
Tony, look, there's so much to talk about. There's a million things. Even just today, I've got one for you, hot off the press. I found this out today.
Hello.
Direct from Sam Bamford, Greenacre's president. For the first time in 25 years, their secret out of back. Now, this is a club that was on their knees years ago, not that many years ago, coming off the Div 7 flag, 3 senior men's teams in Div 6. Great for the club. And their women are back.
You get around. Yeah, I did, talking about the women,
Wayne
segue
Green.
into, Greeny's got them up
Greeny's
and
from
going.
Greenacres.
Catch up with him, and we have heard from our magnificent panellists that a couple of women have come in, and let's hear what they had to say about the women's rugby.
Hi, I'm Morgan Knight and you're watching the Adelaide Footy League Women's Wrap.
Well, folks, it is time for our women's division wrap and some exciting news this year. But first of all, I'm joined by Beck Northcote, player, commentator, and boundary rider for the Adelaide Football League. Welcome along, Beck.
Thanks for having me, Tony. Good to be on.
And we've had a very good chat in the last couple of days about your background and your knowledge of the league, and we'll test you out tonight with that. And of course, a friend to all of us, Morgan Knight. Morgan is the captain of Adelaide Uni, but of course, grand final day, we have our dress-ups and fantastic commentator as well, and a lot of knowledge around the league.
Oh, thanks, Tony. I'm glad to be back.
So, ladies, first of all, we're going to cover all divisions. So 6 divisions, 8 teams in each. Beck, who are we looking at for round 1 in Division 6, please?
So we've got Mitchell Park taking on Adelaide Uni, which they've got 3 teams, which is pretty good for them. Very strong club. So, yeah, that's their 3rd team. We've got Flinders Park hosting Goody Saints, Marion taking on Tea Tree Gully, and Athelston taking on Golden Grove.
Fantastic, down at Max Amber Sportsfield, that one, so a big day down there. We go over to Division 5.
Well, the first game for that round is Elizabeth and Salisbury North out at Argana Park. We've got Loreto hosting Modbury at Campbelltown Oval.
With Loreto, of course, a standalone club.
Absolutely, yeah. They joined the league last year, I believe, and they did very well, in fact, so they had a great first season out. We've got Edwardstown playing Woodville South at Edwardstown Oval, and Kilburn take on North Haven at Blair Athol Reserve.
Now, Kilburn are called the Chicks, but that's after Chicago. Division 4, Beck?
So kicking off Division 4, we've got Fitzroy taking on Ingle Farm, so a couple of clubs that have been around for a while in the Women's League there. We've got Mitcham hosting Hectorville, Lockleys hosting Scotch Old Scholars at Lockleys, and West Croydon taking on Eastern Park.
Now we've got some interesting news around Division 3. Who have we got, Morgan?
Well, actually kicking off the entire season this year for us is Flinders Park and Pembroke Old Scholars. So they play at 7 o'clock Friday night at Flinders Park Oval, which is excellent. There's nothing we like to see more than a Friday night start to our season. We've also got Greenacres and Kenilworth Flinders Uni. That's an interesting match because Greenacres are brand new to the league this season. And we've also got Kenilworth and Flinders Uni that have amalgamated.
It's a win-win, isn't it? And Annette Elvey, good friend of the show, we're going to get her on through the year as well, is coaching down there as well.
We have Pulteney playing Jeps Cross 3:15 on Saturday. That's at Park 20. And then rounding out Division 3 is Hope Valley versus Salisbury at Hope Valley Sporting Club.
Now we move to Division 2.
Yeah, there have been some big changes in the division which we'll go through after this, but we've got Gazer taking on Goody Saints, so that would be their first team because they've got a couple of teams in the league. Brighton Bombers taking on Tea Tree Gully at Brighton. got Westminster hosting Golden Grove and Blackfriars taking on Anglevale. And we were just talking before, there's been a bit of movement through Div 2.
Yeah, I feel like Div 2 tends to have the most every year because Division 1 seems to be, or historically is very stable. There's not a whole lot of movement, and Div 2 seems to get lots of ins and outs. This year we've had Henley move up to Division 1, so they've gone. We've had Brighton come into Division 2. They previously had 2 reserves in a Div 3 team, as did Golden Grove, who are new to Division 2 as well. Westminster are new completely, so it'll be great to see how they go. And Goodwood had a team in Division 2 reserves, and they've come up into Div 2 as well. So out of the 8 teams in that division, there's 4 of them that are new to that division, which is excellent. It is worth noting that the Division 2 reserves competition no longer exists.
Okay.
So that division has been folded. So there is no 2 reserves anymore.
Well, I'll be interested to see how all that mix of teams go in Division 2. You know, don't really know what to expect with all these different teams coming together.
Yeah, I think it's worth just mentioning Blackfriars. They only lost 1 game all season last year in the minor rounds, and I think they are they're hot on the heels of the Division 1 teams. They want to be up there with us.
So 48 teams, if there's 6 divisions, there's 48 teams of women's football, which is great. And we're going to talk about this in a moment. You know, we have Division 1 where a lot are aiming, but some it's about development and just playing and having the enjoyment, etc., and just seeing where we end up organically, if you like. Division 1, Morgan?
Well, if we look at the games first of all, we've got Morphy Park playing Henley. So Henley's new to Div 1 this year. I know that you've already spoken with them, Tony, but they had a bit of a fairy tale finish last year. They actually ended up 3rd on the ladder, and they won both of their finals to end up winning that grand final as well. It was a bit of an upset, so I'll be really curious to see how that game goes. We've also got a new coach out at Morphy's too, so Scotty has been around the club, bit of a legend of the club. She's been there for a long time, has previously coached there as well, and has now stepped into that head coaching role.
And Scotty is?
Tammy Scott.
Thank you. Yes.
Affectionately known as Scotty.
Okay, no worries.
The next game on our list is Old Iggy's versus Broadview. So Old Iggy's also have a new coach this year. It's the year for new Div 1 coaches, apparently. So Brian has taken on that role. I think Old Ignatians they've come in and out of Division 1 over the past few years, and last year they had a very good start to the season, and I think they finished up about 4th or middle of the ladder. So I think they really want to cement their spot at the top of that table this year. And Broadview, similar, they were middle of the ladder as well. I think they've brought on Courtney Johnson as one of their assistant coaches, who's a legend of Broadview. She knows her stuff there, so she'll be a real addition to that coaching team alongside Luke, who's been there for a little while as well.
Adelaide Uni, your team, of course,
Yep.
and Happy Valley. Take us through. You can't go too deep
No,
into it, but there is a
won't.
bit of a story
There
here.
is,
So tell us about your new coach and how you're feeling about the season.
Yeah, so we've got, Adelaide Uni have Jared Allen, who's our head coach this year. He's come across from New South Wales, a wealth of coaching experience. Never coached women's before, but he's doing a really great job at managing all of us. And Happy Valley have also got a new coach this year, Michelle O'Brien. Last year we were 1-1, so we won 1 and Happy Valley won 1. So both on our home grounds.
Well, there's a little bit on that. Righto. Next game.
We've got Smosh West Lakes playing Payneham Norwood Union. That's at Smosh too. A new coach for Smosh this year, Barry Murphy. By all accounts, someone who's been around the club for a really long time. Smosh are reigning premiers, so they'll be looking to defend their title this year. Payneham have got this is a hard game for them. Smosh at Smosh is going to be quite difficult. Great news for Payneham is they had one of their players drafted.
Oh wow!
So Mattia Breed was playing with Payneham last year, and she's just been drafted to Hawthorn. So there must be some really good stuff coming out of Payneham.
All right, now a little bit more around women's football, because it is a fantastic brand product, whatever you like to say. It's a fantastic game. But what we're seeing now, the first thing I want to talk about, a pathway for the coaches. So Ben Hunt, we've seen in recent years from Payneham going out to Centrals, and Brad Farrell, who was a successful coach at Morphy Park, he's now assisting out at Norwood. So coaches are coming through. We're starting to see a pathway, first of all. The next one that I'm interested in you girls, I've noticed recruiting. There's been a lot of stuff coming up. So there's been some recruiting across clubs. So you would have a X amount of players turn up and we'd say, okay, let's put this together and have a team. But we're now starting to see, especially the higher teams, maybe looking at the lower teams and say, who can we recruit in? So it's really becoming professional at that higher end.
Yeah. Probably recruiting in the past, you were looking at brand new players, you know, if you got any friends from your old netball team or things like that you can sort of drag into your footy team. But now people are really looking for players with experience, like you said, looking at maybe some of the lower divisions and seeing who's around and maybe who, you know, you can entice with that kind of Div 1 club thing, you know, especially players that might have higher aspirations for Sandford W, AFL W, that kind of thing.
So important now, folks, is the juniors. For these clubs out there listening, how important is seeing the junior system up and going?
I think we're only a couple of years away from seeing these clubs that have these junior girls teams, that they will start to capitalise on this and they will start to have the development will come through so quickly, and the teams that don't have those juniors may struggle to keep up a little bit because you've got your 16 and a half, your 17 and a half girls teams who can then play seniors at the same time. So that will make a really big difference as in their skill development, their fitness, their match sense. All of those things are going to be. We can't even measure the growth. I don't think it's going to be huge.
So we started out with skill sets. I think now, and we discussed this with a couple of coaches, for a coach to expand on her skill set as well, because you can now coach in game sense, very much so. The girls pick it up like that, and you would see it, well, you would both see it as players, but Morgan out there, new coach comes in, but game sense stuff, positioning, I keep going back to that game we did last year, and it blew my mind. Yeah. The positioning of the girls, the up and back, the cross and back, the communication, and game plans. Yep. So much has happened. Tell us a little bit about game sense, skill sets, and game plans.
I think with the game sense stuff, so many of us have played sport as kids. It may not have been football, but all of that is transferable knowledge. We can apply things that we've learned as young children in netball or basketball or soccer, whatever it is, to football. You can see that now in these players that are coming new. You can teach skills, but match sense takes a lot longer to develop. And so if you get someone that comes with that already, great. You know, that's a really good place to be. There's a lot of talk about 1%ers as well. So, beautiful. You know, we do a lot of work about what a 1%er might be, how that might look in a game, and what impact that can actually have for the rest of your team. With regard to game plans, they're a lot more sophisticated than they used to be. We are learning things like switching and all of that stuff is just basic now. Using a press, that is quite sophisticated stuff that you're talking about in amateur football. And we can do it because we've got these players coming through that have some understanding and they can apply what they already know to this in a new situation. So it's great.
Player involvement, back in the day it was, I'll just talk to my group of players and try and teach them how to play. Now we're getting player involvement in game plans and also coaching drills. Tell us a little bit around what you might have seen or done in regards to that.
Well, speaking from my perspective, we've got our head coach and then all of our assistant coaches are past players. There you go. And so they're people that still want to be involved in the club in some way. Perhaps they can't play for whatever reason, but they have this wealth of knowledge that we need to tap into, and we do tap into by having them there as assistant coaches. We've got line coaches now. It's not just one person delivering a message to the entire group. You have particular explicit feedback and things that you're working on from one coach that's specialised for your line. So that's another we're moving in the right direction, definitely. But
we talk about the pre-match. Let's talk about, I've been down and I've seen the clubs doing it, the music, the team getting together as a group prior to the game, the celebrations on the ground and then post-game, and some of that. Do you guys play, quick off the cuff, do you play music at training as well?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of that sort of stuff. So I guess, Beck, what have you seen and how have you seen the celebrations on game day keeping in respect that, it is a serious game, especially at the higher level. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the music thing can get pretty serious, I'll tell you. You know, if someone forgets the speaker on game day, oh no. But, you know, there's always, you know, there might be a playlist going around and people want to add songs to that for their little pump-up thing. And I know some people just get a lot out of having that really, like, positive, you know, people singing along to songs, that kind of thing. It kind of just brings everyone together, gets that sort of team vibe before you even go out there. And then I think with the celebrations, I think it's sort of starting to hit another level with, you know, the kind of, you're seeing more goal celebrations and, you know, people, you know, bunching up after the goal and getting around each other. And because, you know, some other sports that have been traditionally more, you know, your women's sports didn't, you know, always have that kind of thing, whereas footy's, you know, very much pump each other up, celebrate the wins, celebrate the goals. Singing the song at the end of the game is even, you know, new to some people in these sports. So I think the more women, like, embracing that and really celebrating that is probably just, you know, giving it more energy and...
Yeah. All right, folks, so there's a little bit of an insight. Thanks so much, girls, on, or ladies, we say, on our 6 divisions, and we will have you on throughout. You're probably going to see a lot more of Beck with the commentating and the boundary riding, of course. We're welcome to the team, and Morgan, you know you're welcome at any stage. We're probably going to come out to Adelaide Uni, as we said, and do a bit of an interview with the leaders and that as well. So, folks, keep your eye on things. The season launch is underway and exciting times ahead for women's football.
Thanks for watching the Adelaide Footy League Women's Wrap.
Well, of course, folks, fantastic to hear from our wonderful women about the wrap and some exciting times coming up. Tommy, we spoke about sponsors. Of course, that one was sponsored by CMAX Clinical Research, so we thank them so much. Some great initiatives happening there. Of course, our other sponsor is Sports Interactive.
Sports Interactive indeed, my friend.
Who's our broadcast partner?
Our broadcast partner is Filming Footy.
And of course, a lot of the clubs are now using our next one for their stats. Who is our partner there?
Right here, 2 fingers, and they love stats, Dartfish.
Fantastic. And also...
Adelaide Footy League.
It's on here.
Yes, on your heart, Tony, isn't
That's it.
And we need all those sponsors. If you find out how much you're paying this bloke, we need them all.
Anyway, I'll tell you what else we did through the week. We got down and spoke with Lion, talking about sponsorship. They've just signed on for another 5 years. Lion, also known as West End.
Best end of the day.
That's it. Oh, you've heard that before.
Yes.
Anyway, we spoke with Tim Moffat. Let's have a listen to what Tim has shared with us. Hi, folks. This is one of the most exciting interviews that we have done. I am here with Tim Moffat from Lion. Tim is the SA Sponsorship and Events Leader. First of all, Tim, welcome.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
And of course, the name Lion, synonymous with West End, which is for over 20 years, a major sponsor of the Adelaide Football League. And as you can see, all the balls have been branded with the West End. That's how we know it. And sensational once again, Tim, to have you on board leading into the future, of course. Tell us about this competition and how clubs can be involved and just a little bit of compliance around it. This is absolutely sensational what you're doing with this competition.
Yeah, so I guess most clubs out there by now would have seen the terms of our new sponsorship deal, which kicks off this season. So not too dissimilar to the last one. So there are financial incentives out there for clubs to come on board and partner with Lion in terms of the ranging of their fridges and their taps. So in short, to be compliant to that deal, it's 100% of Lion taps. And then as far as your package product goes, maximum of 2 non-Lion package brands. They need to be on the bottom shelves. So all of that information is available through the Adelaide Footy League website and has already been distributed out to clubs.
Yep.
So there's a deadline of the 31st of May for clubs to verify their compliance to that. In return for that, they'll then be eligible for cash rebates at the end of the season. So $4 for every carton and $25 for every keg.
Wow.
But what we put in place this year, twofold, to get one of our important new products out, which I'll touch on, but also, I guess, just give clubs a bit more skin in the game. If you can verify your compliance a bit earlier, so by the 8th of May,
Yes.
And also feature the new Han Ultra Low Carb, which we'll talk about shortly, in the fridges there, your club will go on the draw to win $2,000 off your affiliation fees for next year, courtesy of West End. So a real financial incentive for clubs to get those fridges and get the photos in nice and early. And then, yeah, there's one of two prizes that clubs can win next year for that $2,000 off your fees.
And of course, Tim, the people are seeing the compliance and non-compliance up on the screen. Very easy to do. We've covered off on that. Certainly many of examples are there. Such an easy competition. I'm sure the players and the coaches and the clubs will be happy, first of all, with the competition. But of course, tell us about the free carton. There's an extra incentive here. They can also display this in that compliance as well. So tell us about the free carton. We'll come to this magnificent beer in a moment.
Yeah, over the last few years, we've had a bit of a new product push out through all the clubs. So most clubs would have seen that we've given out a carton of one of our new brands over the years. So this year's feature brand is a product called Han Ultra Low Carb. It's a groundbreaking new beer. It is truly well below the carbs of a normal beer, even a low carb beer. So what we are doing to help get that out there and help clubs join the incentive is every single club from the Adelaide Footy League will be receiving one free carton. So a lot of clubs already have that. We've got our reps sort of madly working around getting out to as many clubs as possible to set them up for the season. So, yeah, every club by the start of the season or shortly after will have a free carton delivered to them, which they can then use to put in their fridge to enter the incentive.
Now, we're going to put the QR code up. Perhaps we'll put that up now, and after the next question, we'll put it up longer. But first of all, the other exciting bit from my end when we discuss this, it's not just, okay, there it is, and we'll leave you hanging. There are reps out there, and we're endeavouring to get to as many clubs as we can. If you'd like to get in contact and get a rep out, for goodness sakes, let us know. But we're trying to get out to as many. So just tell us about that side of things.
That's right. So there'll be a number of clubs out there who have got a dedicated line rep assigned to them. Most of them are the ones that pour tap beer. Outside of that, most of the clubs by now would have heard from Bruce Galing, who's one of our reps who's out there as a dedicated resource to help set clubs up for this season, which is really great. So he's proactively getting in touch with all the clubs, making time to go and see them, drop off the carton of Han Ultra Low Carb, and just make sure that everyone's set up for success and I guess can capitalise on the financial incentives that are in play at the moment. Look, I'm obviously always a point of contact as well. So through the QR code that you saw on the screen there and through the Adelaide Footy League website, you'll be able to find a document with my details. So if any club doesn't have a point of contact or has any general questions at all, by all means, reach out to me via email or phone and happy to steer you in the right direction.
So exactly that. We'll put that QR code up again. Very important. That's got all the details of the competition as well as your details as well. We can't thank you enough for this added incentive to the clubs. The sponsorship, as we said, 20 plus years, absolutely sensational. So thanks for coming on board and giving us a little bit of background of this great competition and what Lion and West End are doing for the Adelaide Football League. Thank you.
No worries, Tony. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Welcome back to Between the Posts, and it's time to talk about something that's brand new this year, Tony.
Oh, yes.
Our division specialists, and there's some good ones in there, don't worry about that. So I'll start with the division, give you the sponsor of the division, and you're going to tell us all about the specialists, who they are.
Certainly.
Beautifully. So starting in Division 1, the sponsor is the Adelaide Footy League, and who are the masterminds in Division 1?
Well, you wouldn't believe it. Tommy Jabor, and we're going to get Adam Jeffries in. Now, Division 1 will be a wrap every week. And in exciting news, the great man Tommy next to me will be going out most weeks, maybe talking with a club, getting an interview, whether that's on a Tuesday or whether that's on a Saturday of game day. So we want to find out, not about what's happening on the ground, but a little bit around the background and what's going on off the field as well, Tommy. So
starting with newly promoted Broadview next week on Tuesday night.
Fantastic.
So looking forward to that. Division 2. Okay, it's my line. Beautiful. It's the Breakthrough Mental Health Division. Tony, and who are our specialists?
Now, our specialist there is Matt Gale, and we're going to get Matt on. A fascinating story. A great friend of mine. He wore my footy jumper after me at Port Broughton. A long story short.
Played better than you too, I heard.
Oh, massively. Matt has been involved in Japan. He's lived in Japan the last 10 years, very high up in AFL Asia.
Yes.
So he's done commentary, he's done broadcasting previously before he left Australia, 10 years overseas, running the competition virtually, and a lot of commentary, podcasts, etc. Great man with a lot of intel on teams and players. So that's Matty Gale.
Okay, Division 3, also sponsored by the Adelaide Footy League. Probably a man that needs no introduction.
Correct. A great friend of ours here on the show. Peter Welsh, over 32 years, we don't mind saying, working on the ABCs, covered the Olympics. He's covered AFL, VFL football, some amazing stories as well. A real character, and he will be a real specialist for our Division 3 teams.
Yeah, cool to get Walshy on board. So we'll all learn a lot from him. In Division 4, that's the 9 News Division 4.
So a great man, we've met a couple of times, and he'll be coming on, called Jack Moore. Now, Jack Moore has a history in umpiring, so understands the game not only as a spectator, as a player, but also as an umpire. So it'll be interesting to hear his perspective on the Division 4 teams.
2013 Grand Final umpire, when Tatum won the Grand Final. I still love him.
Oh, tear up, don't start crying again.
Division 5, now we've talked about him already, the Wakefield Sports Clinic, such a valuable addition, well, to all the athletes. This sponsor.
So our division specialist here is Vince Cosmo, a very good friend of ours here at the show, and mine personally. And Vince has had a lot of history in admin at the higher level as well as local level. He's also commentated for us for the last 3 or 4 years, doing country football, doing city football. He's a bit of a go everywhere man. Loves his port, but also I'll tell you
Port
what.
Power or
yeah, no, Port Power, and probably a bit of both. But I'll tell you what, the Division 5 teams, he will go through from top to bottom. There won't be any stone left unturned.
With a fine-tooth comb.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Beautiful. Now, Division 6, Tony, I'll be remiss of me not to say just how sharp you're looking in your O'Neill Sportswear there, and they are indeed the sponsor of Division 6. It is O'Neill Sportswear.
Fantastic segue there, Tommy.
Thank you.
Our Division 6 specialist, a young man coming through the ranks with commentating, and actually commentated a game with me a couple of weeks ago, and I learnt from him. Yep. That's called reverse mentoring. Jad Gosson, we love to welcome him into the team, and he'll be covering our Division 6 teams.
Yep. And
I can't do Division 7. Go on.
Yeah, again, Division 7, the CMAX Clinical Research, and, well, I'm not sure if he's a specialist, but we've got the real deal Tony Neal diving deep into Div 7, heading down to the mud pit at Houghton, and, you know, who else is in Division 7? There's some good teams.
Hills, Ingle Farm, there's a lot there.
Watch out for the farmers.
No, well, I used to play there. Now, Division 7, the reason I actually chose Division 7 because I want to elevate them. Flinders Uni, we're doing a bit of a doco on throughout the year, some exciting things happening there. So I'm going to get around to each Division 7 team, whether they like it or not. I'll come out and have a visit. But really want to help these teams and pump them up, because forget about the divisions. Football is football, and that's how we look at things here. So it's exciting to have this division specialist. So what will happen, Division 1 will be covered every week, and the other divisions will be covered on a 3-week rotation, because we don't just want to bring you scores and results. We are doing that through Phil Herden's normal wrap, but we want to bring you other news around the league. So exciting times, Tommy. We'll be right back after this break.
More than 100,000 supporters watch over 270 teams every Saturday at your local footy ovals. Be there and show your team colours. Adelaide Footy League's 2023 season kicks off Saturday, April 22. 9 Adelaide and the Adelaide Footy League, strengthening communities through footy.
Well, welcome back, folks, and exciting news, because we did mention this in our end of season show last year. We can actually ratify it now, and we'll come to that in a moment as well. Every game in Division 1 will be live streamed and commentated, and we have a sponsor for each different stream. Let's go through who the commentators are, who the sponsor is, and more importantly, Tommy, what are the games we've got coming up?
Well, I tell you what, it's a Div 1 expert's dream. Am I the expert? Is that what I'm called? The specialist, the analyst, whatever I am. But in Division 1, we've obviously got the 5 games covered. The first one, the real deal, Tony Neal and Matt Gale are covering Tea Tree Gully versus Old Ignatius. It's 2 new coaches in that one. Be very interesting. But our sponsor is Make Sure Ratify. Tell us about them, mate.
So we would really like to welcome Make Sure Ratify on. I had a call with a couple of the head honchos there a couple of weeks ago, very friendly, and just explained a lot to us. And just a magnificent company to get on board. We will expand on this down the track, but pretty quickly, you talk about pre-employment, you talk about HR. I deal a lot with people and performance, but you talk about your policy and procedure. So we look at, make sure there's a pre-employment background checking system that streamlines the recruiting process, so it makes it so easy. They're offering all checks on one secure platform. The applicant has one point of contact. The turnaround time is 80% on the same day, depending on timing, of course, and there's online training given to help the people understand how Make Sure works. It's a magnificent system. I've been through it. Now, we're talking about an app here as well. They're a system to upload compliance requests and assign them to individuals through the platform. So there's individual employees, volunteers. The thing that's very exciting is we've made it also towards football and clubs, because we're talking about clubs are now a business. So, for instance, I can upload now as the individual, if I'm applying, my coaching certificate. I can upload that I've got a mental health assessment done. I can upload I've got a Cert 4 in fitness, whatever it might be.
Done the culture module, done the concussion module.
Exactly.
All that stuff,
yeah. So, and it's one
Make sure
system.
ratify.
And ratify, the club can go on. There's a certain way we can share the information. We're going to have some videos coming up about it, but have a look around yourselves. Jump on the website, Make Sure Ratify. Have a look at the Ratify app. And you'll be quite surprised at what you can do in a short amount of time. It's really going to help the clubs out there. So that is Make Sure Ratify.
Sounds like a great sponsor, mate. Now let's put little Tony's on the line here. Tip, please, mate. Teacher Gully Old Iggies.
Well, calling that game, and I'm up there, and I think Teacher Gully will get across the line there.
Teacher Gully will. You can put it in the bank. It's the Tommy special.
Keep
All right. The next game is going to be called by Vince Cosme and former Pathway Premiership coach Adam Jeffries. It's Broadview and Port Districts, a really interesting one. The promoted Premier in Broadview taking on the division, so Div 2 versus Div 1 Premier. Should be a very interesting game here at Broadview, currently under construction. Spoke to both these coaches today. Now, before we do the tip, tell us a little bit what's your business, mate. Programs to fit.
Yeah, so I won't say too much. Just keep an eye out, because we're going to do a little promo.
Yep.
Programs to fit. A lot of people don't know what my day job is. I will be sponsoring a stream this year, and we'll be talking about that down the track. But basically, performance consulting for coaches, for clubs. We do a lot of workshops, leadership, etc., etc. But we'll get to that down the track. More importantly, this game.
Programs to fit, they're not too bad. So, yeah, this game, Broadview versus Port Districts. I'll go first in this one, mate. Look, how do you tip against the Division 1 Premier?
Well, Tommy, there's some interesting discussions around this from different panellists. Port Districts, for me, will they be the first team in a long time to win back-to-back? That's my tip for the year.
No, they won't. There you go. I was put that to bed, but I think they will. That match experience, I think they'll get Broadview in the last quarter. So I'll take Port Districts from one. On to Division 3. This one will be called by Indiana Rogers and Jack Moore. It's Goody Saints versus Sacred Heart. Two clubs have had plenty of success over the last few years. And going back as well, obviously. But the sponsor for this one is our good friends at Archie's.
There they are, the whole kit and caboodle there. When we have some guests on the show this year, they come in, they can select their size and their colour, and I always say you'll sleep in them. Fantastic support from Archie's over a number of years.
It's one of those things, if you don't know, you don't know. But Archie's, it's a play on words, because the arch gives you the support. They're actually a supporting thong. They're not just one of those junky thongs. It's a beautiful thong, well worn. I wore mine down at the Shack at Normanville on the weekend, a beautiful fit, and I tell you what, I look bloody good in them. So...
personal opinion, mate.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Goody Saints, the hardened veterans of Division 1. They were pretty good last year. Sacred Heart coming up from Division 2. You just go, I'll take the logic on the little postage stamp, I'll take Goody Saints.
Just on that one, Goodwood Saints, yes, but you have to do the hard yards. So Sacred Heart have done the hard yards and have earned their spot. And as we've seen, you were in there with them, but Glenunga did the hard yards the last couple of years, but to stay in. You've got to do the hard yards to stay in. So welcome to Division 1 to Sacred Heart. Just on Goodwood Saints, we do understand they are doing the Anzac Day presentation prior to the game. There's a fair bit around Guernsey's speeches and so on. So we might be starting that particular stream around about 2 o'clock, I reckon, on the day. So just to bring you all the action.
We're just excited to get into the season, aren't we?
Well, for sure. Now, our next game, our fourth one, our first of all, our caller will be Peter Welsh. He'll be calling that on his own because he does such a magnificent job. He's a character. To hear your name called out by a man with the esteem in the commentating business such as Peter Welsh, it sends tingles up your spine.
It's a synonymous voice, so...
Absolutely sensational. We've discussed him. Of course, that's St Peter's Old Collegians versus Prince Alfred. So 2 of the Old Collegian teams. Geez, what are you tipping there?
Prince Alfred by comfortably. St Peter's a lot of turnover. Prince Alfred, they've just put in another Glenelg star to go with Chris Curran and the Pitt boys, and you've got Trengrove in the middle. They add Andrew Bradley, who was the Glenelg captain for many years when I was at the Bays, and a tremendous young human being. He'll play in the middle and just more weapons. I mean, I've tipped him to win the flag, so I'll be tipping him most weeks, mate. Prince Alfred for mine.
You wouldn't believe it. I'm actually going to tip St Peter's, only for the unknown quantity, and just keep an eye on them. You just never know. New coach, new systems.
Well, it is sponsored by Buddy Bet. Would you care to wager on this one?
So, it's interesting that you've mentioned that. I probably lost 90% of my bets last year on Buddy Bet.
I can see why.
So, with Buddy Bet, we thank them. They are coming on again. They've been fantastic over the last few years with them. And in all seriousness, thank them very much. We did have some fun with them the last couple of years, but at this point, I won't be gambling because we say gamble responsibly. Let's just see what happens after round 1, and that might change as we go. The 5th stream team, Phil Hurden. So we're calling this the stream team because of, there are 3 people here. We're going to have several cameras. So it's what people have been used to seeing in the past. So we've got Phil Hurden, of course, Tommy Javor in the seat, and Beck Northcott coming on as the boundary rider this year. We're going to rotate our boundary riders, so Beck will be doing game 1. And of course, Glenunga versus Brighton. Now, this is an interesting one, Tommy. I'm tipping, knowing Brett quite well down there, Brett Backwell, I'm tipping Brighton in an upset here. So 2 shockers from me. Shocks, we should say.
Well, Mouse,
what do you say?
Mouse is a Division 1 premiership coach. He did a great job in the Glenelg reserves when he was down at the Bays. What I will say is Glenunga got a hold of Brighton twice last year and won with big games, and coming up into Div 1 probably weren't expected to go to Brighton and win, for instance. I just think I've tipped Glenunga. They're recruits, great recruits. I can't see them losing this first one at home, and if they do, Nani will kill them. So
I'm on the ball.
Yeah, Glenunga for mine.
So just remembering, folks, we also have Banner Crew come on board again this year. Fantastic for all your sportswear and your banners and so on. Look them up down in the port there. So we thank them. The game of the round, also, Tommy, what are we saying, game of the round, Glenunga versus Brighton?
Well, it has to be because it's where the stream team is, mate. They go to the game of the round. That's what they do.
So we cover a fair bit in Division 1. There's also, we've got so many sponsors come on board. Tell us about another exciting little thing we might be having.
To the major prize. So we're going to be doing a 3-2-1 voting for players, and we've got a major prize. The best prize in amateur football, obviously, in community football, I think we call ourselves the Adelaide Footy League, with the amateur players. Obviously, we can't compete with the AFL where they're giving away cars. But this one here, as someone who owns 3 horses, trust me, I appreciate the value in this. The Player of the Year, you can get on board. You will get a 5% share of a Roll the Dice racehorse worth $7,500. I mean, that horse could do anything. Hopefully it does some good stuff, but a 5% share worth $7,500 if you are the 3-2-1 voting player of the year. So plenty to play for and plenty of pressure on the people doing the votes this year.
Just on that, Tommy, if 7,500 is 5%, imagine what that horse is worth. So you're not going to get a Brumby, you're not going to get the milk horse, you're going to get
well, I'm really
top
good
of the table.
at maths, mate, so that's a $150,000 horse.
Yeah.
So this one's going to have 4 legs and can probably run too.
Wow, so exciting news there. So that's what's happening around Division 1. We'll be back after a short break. Hi folks, well we are in a physio room and you may ask, what are we doing here? Well, let's find out. I am with, first of all, Chris Hampel, a sports physio. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Tony.
Now, let's just have a look at why we're in this room and tell us about the actual clinic. First of all, it's the Wakefield Sports Exercise Medicine Clinic, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It sounds like a mouthful, but we try to get the exercise as well as the sports in there because we approach things that your sport is perhaps football, but yes, some people's sport is to walk to the letterbox. So exercise is important there. So we have everyone in one building. There's doctors, sports doctors, physios, podiatry, dietitian, psychology, and we have a really close link with the Wakefield Orthopaedic Clinic as well. So surgeons, doctors, that sort of thing. So it's all in one place here on the corner of Pulteney and Angus Street.
Yep. So we were looking outside before. If I'm in Angus Street and I'm facing the building, there's a couple of buildings here. It's the one on the right, and there's a whole pile of murals all over the windows, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So it's the one on your right, and there's some white kind of pictures and murals of various people doing things. If you look closely, and down the side of Pulteney Street, they're the same pictures there.
And magnificent clinic. We've done the walkthrough. Tell us a little bit about what's inside when we come through those front doors, and we'll come to how we get here and what we do. But what have we got inside? There's some exciting things down to the left there.
So obviously we have a reception area and a waiting room at the front, and then there's medical rooms and physio rooms and podiatry rooms. But we also have a nice gym space, which is it's great for you, Tony, that's right. Gym space where we can do lots of rehab work, jumping, hopping, landing for end sort of stage rehab that moves out of a room like this, and you need the space to jump around and land around. And we've got various things to test strength and jump heights and things like that.
Okay, let's set the scenario. I'm a football player. I've twisted my ankle on Saturday, and during the game, or maybe post-game, could be an injury, they need to get me here. What's first point of call, and then how do we go about things?
So from there, one of the nice things on the weekend is we have the weekend injury clinic where there is a doctor, a sports doctor or a physician on site. So one of the best things to do probably would be to call ahead and let them know that you're coming. You can just rock up. It's a walk-in clinic. That's no problem. But if they have this prior knowledge, they can let you know a little bit about when they might be closing or when to, how soon to get there if it's towards the end of the day. That being said, you rock up. The doctor will be able to assess you, decide whether you need an X-ray. There's X-ray facilities on site here in the building, and they're open on the weekends as well if they're referred from our doctors. So that's really good. You can clear it with an X-ray. You can start your plan of where to go into the next week, whether it's rehab, and on the occasion that it might need a surgical opinion, the doctors here, as I said, a close relationship with the surgeons at Wakefield as well. And those surgeons will save times early in the following week so that there's some emergency type special times that they can get these people in if they need it from the weekend.
And I know you guys probably won't touch on it. I will just make sure we come to the right entrance, because if it's a major injury and you're writhing in pain and screaming, obviously you can go over the road. There's another establishment with an emergency area. But if you're just coming in, when I say just, but if you've busted up a shoulder or a knee or an ankle, but you can tolerate within reason the pain, come into the Wakefield Sports and Exercise Medical Clinic. That's the one we need to come to. Do the sports doctors, physios, whoever's attending to that client, do they then communicate to the club, or the club can call up and say, okay, can we get hold of, obviously just the information we need? Is there communication between the clubs and the clinic as well?
So that really needs to happen through the patient or the person that comes in. So if you need me to say, look, Tony's okay to start jogging, that can be a note that I wrote. And it can be as simple as to whom it may concern, and you can take it with you. So, there doesn't need to be direct communication, and that's a privacy kind of issue as well. But if you pass the information on, then that's fine.
Well, Chris, very comprehensive. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us, and all the best for this evening.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for chatting.
Well, Tony, we're back in. Look, it doesn't stop. There is so much going on. What else have we got on going around the Adelaide Footy League, mate? Yeah,
thanks for asking, Tommy. So
you told me to ask, so I thought I would.
Thank you very much. You're following the run sheet very well there. Yep. The Adelaide Footy League's chosen charities in 2023 is the Little Heroes Foundation and Breakthrough Mental Health Research Foundation.
Fantastic to see the league giving back to those charities. That is wonderful. One of the really exciting things about that, one of the great initiatives of the Adelaide Footy League has been seeing all the kids and the families at the local footy club with Channel 9. So I'm speaking, of course, of the 9 News Alive with Tommy Wren. Little Tommy Wren, he loves to punt, Tommy. He's an absolute ripper of a bloke. And him and the crew head out, and they'll be heading out to the Modbury Footy Club, all starting at 5:30 p.m. And it's just great to see all the kids jumping up in the background. And at Modbury, they'll all be in their Hawks colours and their Poo and Wee colours, the brown and gold. Exciting.
All right, fantastic. I thought that's what I heard you say. The Breakthrough Community Round, Round 6, Saturday 27th of May. Please get your club registered. Tommy, you've got a few details.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Watch this. Bang! That's of course, the website for breakthroughcommunityround.org.au. You can sign up straight away by visiting. It takes less than 2 minutes and it is completely free. Thank you for your support there, Mr. Producer, and to all the good people out there.
Well, folks, we're down here at the Banner Crew. Our friend, supporter and sponsor of Between the Posts has joined us. Welcome, Jason Goods.
Thanks, Tony. Nice to be with you.
What can the people out there expect to buy from the Banner Crew and get looked after?
Pretty much anything that you can put your club logo on or a message from the club, whether it be, like you mentioned, a marquee or a flag or an A-frame or a banner, a stubby holder, a pen, anything like that, anything that you can pop the club branding on. Everything's customisable, so basically we've got an in-house design department with 2 graphic designers that can work toward getting the message across that you're after.
We're down here at 318 to 326 St Vincent Street, Port Adelaide. Jason, thank you so much for your support.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Posts. Tommy Javor here, and I've been given the big job this year from League HQ, interviewing the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome to the show, John Kernahan.
Thanks very much, Tom.
No worries. I don't know if it's promotion or demotion. I've got the bit boss. This could be the end of me.
No, you'll be right. You'll be right. We'll get through it.
No, I'm not even nervous. So, mate, you are the man of the hour. You run the whole show, but I want to step back a little bit in time. I've spent a lot of time preparing. I've done my research. You yourself had a pretty interesting footy career. You cut your teeth at Broadview mainly back in the, but ended up as the footy director at Uni Blacks. That was the nuts and guts of your.
Oh, that was the end of it. I mean, I'd played at Broadview for nearly 10 years.
Yep.
And a couple.
Any flags?
2 premierships in Division 1.
So you told me to ask him that.
Yeah. And then at the end, I just finished at university with some friends, and most clubs are the same.
Right. Question without notice, and I shouldn't do this. I'm a footy tragic, you know it. So the Div 1 premierships of Broadview, what years would they have been?
93 and 98.
So is that your Kemps? And
both Kemps.
Yeah, both Kemps are playing.
You know, I mean, they're the ones that you go to easily.
Danny Grantham, was he one of those?
Danny Grantham was one of those.
The big bear.
But, you know, you forget people like Jeff Palmer and Tony Sherry and Justin Salisbury.
Yeah, some great people.
Yeah.
And great relationships.
It's a good club.
So, mate, obviously, you've gone from Uni Blacks footy director. Was that the link to becoming CEO? It's a big step to CEO of the
No,
Adelaide
it's
League.
not been on the board of the Amateur League for some time prior to that, and fell into the Adelaide Footy League, or then the South Australian Amateur Football League, by default.
Yep.
And then as CEO, as the evolution went through it.
Yep. So you are the front man for the league, obviously, but behind every great man, and generally is a great woman, as you have, but you've got a great team behind you. Tell me about the team here at head office. Who's supporting you?
We've been relatively blessed in that we haven't had a great turnover, and I think at this level of footy, consistency of message is really important.
Yep.
Tony, Ivana and Dee have formed the backbone of our league for a long time.
Yep.
In recent times, we've had Aaron come on board and Sharon Henderson more recently.
Yep.
That's part of a transition. Tony retires in the middle of the year, so there's a planned approach there. He has a significant amount of local knowledge.
Yeah.
So we need to pass that on to Aaron and Sharon to a lesser degree, but certainly Aaron, so that we can have a seamless transition.
Aaron and Sharon got big shoes to fill. Rhymes too. Now, aligned to you, mate, obviously you've got a lot of support from the board. A lot of people who work in footy will understand there's a board that make a lot of the decisions, but tell us a little bit about your board.
Well, again, we're lucky enough at this level of footy that all of our board have some exposure to football at our level.
Yep.
Most at most levels, ranging from presidents to secretaries to treasurers, coaches. It's not necessarily a prerequisite to be a good board member based on what level of footy you've played or what level of club you've presided over. We've got some really good quality people across all divisions, across all demographics. So we strike a really good balance.
Beautiful. Post-COVID, I'm working in the sample. I've found that it's a lot of clean air. Clubs are a little bit more excited, energised. How do you think of Adelaide Footy League season? I mean, you've got 67, 68 clubs. I'm not sure the exact number. How will it unfold for those clubs now post-COVID? Hopefully COVID, touch wood, is in the backdrop.
Well, the clubs will stay the same. What we've probably noticed the most is that, particularly this year, there's been a significant turnover of volunteers.
Yep.
Probably those that got their clubs through COVID and kept going back to the world, particularly in 2020 and then 21 and then 22, probably, and quite rightly, deservedly so, think that they've done their bit.
Yep.
And some of them have moved on to other things or simply spending the weekend at home with family and loved ones. So we're seeing this year a really strong changeover of the guard at volunteer level.
Yep. Now, it's human nature to want to be liked. Everyone wants to be liked, but you can't, in your role, always be liked. With 68 clubs, you're going to give people news they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear. You're not going to give them the answers they want. How do you deal with those tough conversations?
Well, I think you've got to be consistent for a start, and it's not a matter of being liked. I think most of our clubs appreciate that as long as the answer is consistent,
yep.
As long as it has been explained, and they may not like the answer, but if they can identify with the reason as to why the answer is it is, then we're halfway there. Life's not easy, neither's running a footy league, and I'll tell you, if you're worried about being liked in this job, you wouldn't.
Probably not the job for you.
Yeah.
Look, there's certainly been some commentary about the, I don't know if it's the gaining of strength, but we certainly see now a lot more college teams in your higher divisions in Division 1. I don't know the exact number. I don't know if it was 6 last year, and yet we're seeing the emergence of a lot of those teams. What do you put that down to, or the commentary around that?
Listen, I think you need to dissect it a little more than just say that those college clubs have gotten strong. I mean, Ross Trevor has always been around the mark.
Yeah.
If the two that really have been consistent and consistently stronger at Division 1 level would be Prince Alfred, Old Collegians and St Peters, but St Peters have also had their ins and outs of Division 1. You also need to draw the lines between them becoming a fraction more successful and a fraction more dominant at high levels with things like the introduction of the APPS, the introduction of the salary cap. So the clubs that dominated Division 1 and Division 2 to a lesser degree in years past, especially the salary cap was only 2014 or 15. Mm-hmm. Those clubs, firstly, are hamstrung by the amount they can pay. Some of those clubs don't have, through no fault of their own, I might add, don't have the same level of engagement at junior level. Mm-hmm. And at junior level, I think you could almost draw a correlation that Division 1 and 2 clubs are also the same clubs that have got a really high population of junior teams.
Yep. That
feed through and become part of their natural cycle. So, listen, I think it would be self-serving and for those that want to believe that some of those old coal clubs have been given a free kick, so to speak, but it's also a little more scientific than that, and you need to be able to dissect it a little bit more. And listen, they've worked hard, and the short answer to this, if clubs want to compete at a high level, they need to work hard and put in.
Yep. Port District's a prime example.
Absolutely.
Last year, coming from outside of the five for many, many years, they changed a few things, good recruits, and even won premiership.
We're going to see, I would imagine, we're going to see Golden Grove, the cycle of Golden Grove, eventually become a
600 juniors a year.
Division 1. And we're a little bit, I wouldn't say anti, but we'd like to see the clubs without juniors, or at least low numbers, be able to. The super clubs, as we're probably calling them these days, they need to have someone to play against. We really need to be conscious of that.
Yep.
If we don't allow the other clubs to compete at the same level, we're going to reduce in our team number or our club numbers really quickly.
Yep. Beautifully done. Now, speaking on just taking back a step, people who don't like to be liked, Colin Rouston, the umpires, what a great job they do. Colin obviously working at the Sample and at the Adelaide Footy League. It's always a big year for the umpires, but they do a great job, don't they?
Listen, I've taken it, I wouldn't say I've taken it upon myself as a personal agenda, but one thing that I've noticed over my time as being CEO is just the role that they play.
Yep.
I think the criticism that they attract, some of it is inherent of being an umpire. I get it, but at the same time, we have a significant shortage of umpires. So unless some of the people that are happy to heap rubbish on top of umpires want to pick up a whistle and have a go at themselves, I know it's cliched.
But you did it, didn't you? You umpired
it's very real and it's taxing. It's a really tiring job.
Yep.
You've got to have a thick skin, and they, just by me umpiring, my level of respect for what they do has gone up exponentially.
Yep. No, we wish them all the best, and please respect your umpires, and if you can do it better, grab a whistle. We'd love your support at the league. Mate, we had a really exciting announcement to make tonight about a partnership.
Well, we announced a partnership today with SAPOL in that we've developed a very, it's a memorandum of understanding, almost a gentleman's agreement, that we will actively promote the recruiting of cadets or a career in the police force amongst our members. We have, we continually talk that we've got 12,000 senior players.
Yep.
2,000 of which are female. We know that there is a shortage of cadets in their recruiting strategy. So we see a really good synergy in that we can offer something to the community at the same time as promote a really valuable and positive career path for some of our members.
And yeah, it would fit in if you're young, you're fit, you're a footballer. There's no reason why you couldn't do something for your community. And they're fairly well remunerated, I'm told, these days. So a better career, you wouldn't have to look too far. Now, before we close off, John, it's time for Tommy's Fast Five.
Right.
All right. So now these aren't easy questions.
No worries.
All right. So you can pass.
Okay.
You only get to pass once. You're not going to like all the questions, but here we go. All right. Footy team supported?
I genuinely, and it's probably influenced by my position here at the league, I genuinely like to see both Adelaide teams do well because it's
Tommy's Fast Five, John.
It promotes participation, and that's the cornerstone of our league.
Sound just like me when I'm at work. All right. Best administrator you've ever worked with?
Best administrator I've worked with, Tom Javor.
Oh, give us. Okay, what's your preference? Eat a cold pie at the footy or have a cold shower after hot yoga?
Cold shower after hot yoga.
All right, no worries. All right, last one. You need to choose one here. No passing. Drink a six-pack with a spoon or spoon Chris Grant for the evening?
Six-pack with a spoon.
Or spoon. Oh, that's your answer? Or
yeah.
Right. And it would be remiss of me, after 47 years, Chris Grant recently had a grandstand named after us. He's been very kind to the league over the years.
He has been and even now, I very much enjoy his company. And
but you wouldn't spoon him?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
The big wedge.
No.
What a great man. And again, congratulations, Chris. I wanted to get that one in. The last thing, John, I'm going to ask is any message to the clubs signing off?
Oh, no. Listen, we genuinely are in a really good space as a league. We continue to benchmark ourselves against other leagues, particularly leagues our size. And we don't, clearly there's none of those in South Australia, so we have to go east or west to get that benchmark. One of the things that we really pride ourselves is that we have a really high retention rate of players over the age of 30, which we think we could argue quite successfully that that's on the back of creating a really positive environment when men and women eventually, when men and women have career decisions to make or play football, if we can provide a safe place for them to play, then it makes that decision a little bit easier.
Beautifully done and beautifully spoken, John. Thanks very much. You've been here watching Tommy Javor with CEO of the league, John Kernahan. Stay with us. We're back after these important messages. Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much.
Hi folks, well we're here at the Wakefield Sports Clinic. Of course the concussion and taping workshop tonight, and I'm joined by Dr. Andrew Comley, the Wakefield orthopaedic surgeon. First of all, welcome.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's a pleasure to be here.
And tell us, for those of us out there that might not understand fully, what does an orthopaedic surgeon do?
Okay, so orthopaedic surgery is basically surgery of the bones and the joints. So we look after surgery of hips, knees, shoulders, hands. Sometimes we do spinal surgery as well. But we also look after broken bones, torn ligaments, so anything musculoskeletal that requires an operation, that's our specialty field. So we will often look after things that don't necessarily require an operation. We'll see patients who've had an injury, give them advice that may require perhaps a cast, a moon boot, crutches, something like that, rather than an operation. But then there are times when we'll see something needs a surgery, that's where we come in.
And the other bit is, from 25 years ago to now, how quickly things have evolved. So the education for people like yourself and the knowledge, how will that then benefit our clubs and players? Because this facility here, we've got orthopaedic clinic, sports clinic and a hospital. So all of that combined, our clubs and players, we don't like injuries, but they do happen. To be able to come here and get the expertise, how will that benefit everyone?
Well, this in a lot of ways is a one-stop shop. We've got sports GPs and GPs, so they're not just your average general practitioner. They have, first of all, an interest in sports injuries, so they see a lot of them. They know what's common and they know how to treat them well. We also have sports physician trainees, so they're another level up. So they're doctors who are trained to be team doctors, look after injuries and the well-being of players at a really high level. So they go through a really intensive program over and above a general practice. They work here in the clinic, they train here in the clinic, and it's one of only 2 spots in South Australia that actually has a training post for that. And then they come back and they join us. So they play a really important role in that first line. When someone's referred by a trainer, come and see the doctor, they see them, they make the initial assessment. They can then make the decision about what scans might be necessary. We send them upstairs, and literally on this floor, on the 2 floors above or around the corner, there's some fantastic radiology services. We can get scans on site with particular musculoskeletal radiologists that know what to look at when they're looking at joints. So they are trained to do mostly musculoskeletal things, so they will have a really good idea of the anatomy around a joint and what they're looking at. They give us really good reports. If we look at a scan and we're not sure about something, we can bounce that off the radiologist and discuss it with them to see we're both talking about the same thing. If something doesn't need surgery but maybe needs physio, we've got them in-house as well, so they can basically move on to some rehab, training, exercise, those sort of things in-house with the physios, either on-site here or over at other facility in North Adelaide, or they can go and see their physio outside. It might be associated with their club, so they can get that process underway. But if they do need an operation, the referral link between here and on the 2nd floor where the surgeons are located is really close. We have a very tight relationship. There's a number of the surgeons upstairs who have a really good interest in sports injuries and their management. And so we take referrals and we take them on the basis of we'll keep spots open for them. If someone comes in on a Monday, they have an injury, they get seen downstairs, scanned upstairs, and if they need to come and see us that day, that'll happen. So it can all be streamlined.
I think what you've just said there is really hits the point there, because a football club tries to operate as a team. They work as a culture and all of this stuff around the outside. You guys are a team off the field and a vital team. So, you know, A talks to B, B talks to C, C talks to D. I think the other bit there, with my injury, I had to wait 4 days for surgery, you know, back in the day, whereas now it's can be pretty well instant. The bit about holding that spot, and if someone needs to get in, you know you're going to be well looked after. So, Dr. Andrew Comley, I know you're going to address the people attending tonight's training workshop as well. Thank you so much for opening our eyes a little bit more to what goes on in here. The care and support is a really big theme that we've noticed through the Wakefield Sports Clinic. So thank you so much for joining us.
That's a great pleasure, Tony. Thank you very much for having us.
Hi folks, we are down that beautiful pathway down here in amongst the vines, the grapes. We've got a few announcements to make. That's why we've made the trip down here. Let's go and see who we can find, do an interview, find out a little bit more about the Adelaide Footy League and the Coaches Awards. Well, here we are down at Farmers Leap in Pathway with Adam Jeffries, one of our co-commentators this year. First of all, welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Tony. Glad you're here.
And more importantly, the reason we are here is because of Farmers Leap have come on board as one of our sponsors, which is fantastic. Mate, just give us a bit of a background. This is a beautiful establishment here. We're out in the vines, of course. Tell us about the background of Farmers Leap Winery.
Certainly, Tony. Yeah, so Farmers Leap's a family-owned business based in Pathway. Started in 1993. You're standing in front of one of our many vineyards based here in Pathway. Yeah, we've been around for 30 years this year, funnily enough. And obviously we do Shiraz, Cabernet, Chardonnay, among many things. We're here today at the Celador restaurant also, which is based in Pathway. Yeah, so we're an emerging business, becoming more popular as the years go on.
And there is a particular brand along with, what is it, 14 different wines you were saying? How many was it?
We've got about 14, 15 wines in our portfolio. We will focus heavily on the random shot wine as we go through, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. But yeah, we're like I said, we've got plenty of choice here at Farmers Leap.
We can see the drone vision. There's how many acres of vines have you got out here, do you reckon?
Well over 1,000 acres of vineyard that the family own, which we're very, very lucky. We've got great choice when it comes to bottling our wine, that we can produce real top shelf products, even for our entry-level products. So yeah, that's our strength lies in the vineyard here at Farmers Leap.
And Adam, I'm a bit excited, mate. If we turn here, we can see there's a bunch of grapes down inside there. Now, what wine would these go towards making, first of all?
This will be Shiraz, Tony. I know one of your favourites. You can even eat one of these grapes if you like.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. That's
really?
Really good. Yep, get into that.
Fair dinkum. All right, let's have a look. Oh, sweet. I don't know if I need too much sugar, but, oh, that is... Why don't you sell them? Why don't you sell them as a...
Maybe. Not as much. There's more money in bottled wine, surely.
So that goes into the Shiraz. So what time of the season is it right now? We're in early April, of course. So where are we at and how close to bottling?
Yeah, normally this time of year we'd almost be done with harvest. It's been quite a mild summer. So yeah, the grapes still on the vines there waiting to be picked, where normally they'd be done by now. So yeah, a little bit late because of the cold weather, but they'll be off in the next couple of weeks, these grapes.
And just finally for the viewers out there, as we said, coming on board with some sponsorship, but where can they get hold of, I guess, Farmers Leap wines, and in particular the Random Shot, but all of the range?
Yeah, all of our wines are available in Celebrations and Thirsty Camel bottle shops in Adelaide. So yeah, if you want to give them a try, pop on in and grab a bottle.
Well, there we have it, folks. A great South Australian product, and Australian-wide, I'd suggest.
Of course.
Yes, and can you get it through mail order as well? You can get it. Oh, there we go.
You can do it any way you want, Tony. Any way you want.
Hi, folks. Well, I'm joined by, first of all, Dr. Mark Rafe. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Tony.
Dr. Mark, I should say. You are a Wakefield Sports and Exercise Medical Clinic sports doctor. Now, different to a general GP. Wait for this one. Tell us about your journey into becoming a sports doctor.
Well, I came to South Australia from New Zealand, and as a young doctor I bumped into and started going out with Jenny Williams, so the sister of Mark Williams, ex-premiership coach. And my new girlfriend started disappearing off every weekend off to the football to watch her brother Stephen coach the Magpies, and I thought, I'm not seeing my girlfriend. I wonder what she's doing. She's coming back with all these stories about the blokes talking about the footy on the hill. I said, I better go out and help, see what's going on. And then from that, just started doing more and more sports medicine, and ended up at the Wakefield Sports and Exercise Clinic many years later, and happy to be here.
And you, prior to that, you were a doctor as well, we better say. You were already a doctor, and so ventured into becoming a sports doctor. So fascinating story. Little bit, I guess we're going to talk about concussion, but give us a little bit broader. You're not just a concussion doctor. There's so much that entails a sports doctor. And we talked about, I guess, here working as a team off the field.
Yes. Well, I'm a GP, and most of us in the clinic are general practitioners. There's some sports physicians, and the difference is they are specialists, and we'll use them just like we'd use any other specialist, like a heart specialist or a lung specialist when we've got questions. I'm a GP. I spent 2 years in the country working as a country doctor, did extra training in paediatrics, obstetrics, mental health care, acupuncture, hypnosis, and spent another 6 years doing my Masters of Sports Medicine. So, and a lot of the sports doctors have done a lot of extra training in sports medicine, often through a Masters program through one of the universities. So that's what differentiates us compared to a lot of the community general practitioners.
Let's talk about concussion, having been through it myself and no repercussions, let's say. Anyway, what's the most important thing to think about in regards to concussion? You don't just send them back out there these days.
No. In the old days, in fact, one of the old stories, my father-in-law, Foss Williams, he had a great story. One of the old players got knocked out on the stretcher. He started to wake up as the ball bounced by, jumped off the stretcher, kicked the ball 20 metres, jumped back on the stretcher and got carried off. So those days are well gone. Concussion these days is a very serious matter. There's more and more legal lawsuits. There's two going at the moment. And concussion treatment these days is very different to what it was many years ago. The bottom line, and we're going to do a talk later tonight to the community group, is if you suspect it, if someone looks like they might have concussion, you drag them off, they're not allowed to play for the rest of the day, and they come to somewhere like a sports clinic like Wakefield Sports and Exercise Clinic to be assessed and get a management plan, getting them back to play sport as quickly as possible but as safely as possible.
Yeah, fantastic. And look, how long does a typical concussion, what is a typical concussion? Because you can have it and not show many symptoms, or it can be gaga land.
That's right.
And so on. So what is a typical concussion, and how long does it take to recover from, and how do you know?
Well, that's a good question. There's no machines, there's no blood tests, there's no spit tests, and they are probably coming. But at the moment, it's a history and examination by a doctor. There's about 22 different symptoms that we go through, from headaches, feeling vomity, nauseous. It can be obvious on the day, you can be knocked out, but that's only 10% of people. Then it's hardly anyone's actually knocked out.
Yep.
Most of the time it's a knock to the head and you feel a bit crook afterwards. That's enough to say that's probably concussion, and as long as you think it, they have to come off. And of course, if you're worried from a first aid point of view, they're vomiting lots, more than 2 vomits, they've got severe headaches, or you're worried about their neck, you're calling an ambulance. You're not moving them, you're getting help to them and getting them assessed in a hospital that day.
So we know you're addressing the crew that are waiting outside there tonight around concussion. It is a really big hotspot at the moment. Just for the people out there watching that may not be in attendance, is there a set concussion protocol, or can we get a little bit of an idea around that? Is there a website we can send them to? Does the Adelaide Football League have it on their website, etc.?
Yes, Adelaide Football League, I was just looking it up, they have it through their website, and it refers to the AFL concussion policy. So it'll always come back to the AFL in South Australia, the AFL concussion policy, and that's a 12-step, 12-day policy. So as soon as you're hit in the head and you've got concussion, that's day 0. Now, the first day of getting them back, which is a 12-day process or 12-step process, that first day of that 12-step process is the first day you do not have symptoms. So that's the key. It's not 12 days from the injury, it's 12 days from when you first stop having symptoms. So that could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or it could be the next day. And that's what the assessment is partly about, to try and work that sort of detail out.
Well, Dr. Mark Rafe, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're going to address the trainers coming tonight. One of the things we're going to do, folks, is Dr. Mark is very engaging, and I've learnt so much tonight, is we're going to get you to come down onto the show maybe 2 or 3 times this year, maybe after that findings come out, and a couple of other times, because it's not something we address once like this and, oh yeah, we've done it, we've ticked the box. It's continue to do it. Continue to upgrade, continue to make sure you've got your protocols in place and so on, because it's imperative to everyone around the club, because we all know what it's like when the game's on, we go to enjoy and we see someone not necessarily knocked unconscious but just not really knowing. We've seen, I know in the AFL, we've seen blokes trying to take marks when the ball's down the other end of the ground, and we have a bit of a chuckle about it, but it's not a funny thing, it's a serious thing, and we're talking about the brain. So, Dr. Mark Rafe, thank you so much for joining us, and we will have you on the show again.
Thank you, Tony.
Mate, absolutely sensational what Farmers Leap are doing here. We've got a special announcement today for the Adelaide Football League. We're going to have a Coach of the Week this season, and the prize, Adam, will be
Amazing prize, Tony. 2 bottles of Random Shot wine to our weekly winner of the Coach of the Week award.
Hold them up. Come on, show us them.
Random Shot Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh.
Random Shot Shiraz Premium Pat the Way wines.
2 bottles.
2 bottles, not just one. You need 2.
And what is the vintage? These are obviously big sellers at the moment. Tell us a little bit about the Random Shot.
Yeah, big sellers, the 2020 range of Random Shot Shiraz, Cabernet, like I said, from the vineyards you can see behind us. Great prize for our coaches this year.
Well, we can't thank you enough, Adam, and I'm sure the coaches will be very happy with that. I think the other thing to just allude to with the people out there watching, it's across all divisions. So we will be having a division specialist this year coming in on rotations throughout the Between the Posts show, and we will be naming 1 coach a week from any division, and it's not just based on win-loss. And they'll come in and they'll get those beautiful, magnificent bottles of wine. If we can get them in for an interview, that'd be even handier. If not, we'll get out to them or they'll come and collect. Mate, the other big news, what's happening at the end of the season on top of 2 bottles of wine a week?
The Coach of the Year award, Tony. How good's that? Coaching's a tough gig, so it's about time this award came in. It's a bit like the Golden Fist a few years ago. Yep. It was about time an award came in. So, yeah, we're going to donate a bottle of our premium top shelf Shiraz, as well as a $100 restaurant cellar door voucher here for Farmers Leap for the Coach of the Year in the Adelaide Footy League this year.
So let's just get that right. Down here, they can come down here with $100, go their hardest. Beautiful meal down here in the restaurant as well. Or wine, bring the babe down or partner or whichever way, and yeah, as you do, and fantastic. So thank you. We can't thank you enough for coming on board with that. I'm sure all the coaches out there are excited. They've probably just lifted an extra 10% now with their performances, and let's keep an eye on that throughout the year. Thanks so much for that, Adam. Great to have a chat with you.
Thank you, Tony. Cheers.
But Mahuta goes all the way. Where again, Mahuta?
Good grab by Anjana, then Crone late. It's Anjana the grey. Anjana.
Hillholders went out best. Life on the wire, Twitchy Frank. Twitchy Frank. Classic legend, Wild Planet kicking back, Crone dashing through, will beat the lot of them, Crone!
Larthalay's coming out, they reach the line, nearly a dead heat. But this is speedy and professional. Profiteer for Mickey D is going to win easily.
Ed continued to open them up late and won very impressively.
Well, it's that time of the night, Tommy. It's the end of the show. We'd like to thank, first of all, West End, our fantastic sponsors. A bit of news, just quickly. I've worked out there's 70 clubs.
Yep.
And those clubs across men and women, respectively, are going to end up with 7 grand final winners and 6 grand final winners, respectively. Let's have a bit of a chat around Division 2 to 7.
All right, so look, Tony, we've got the specialists, and they're going to give all the love and appreciation, and they're going to deep dive each week into what's happening in those divisions. And we're going to have obviously people calling them. But I mean, you're doing Division 7, so you must be pretty excited about that.
Well, if you ask me what's the most exciting thing for the year, there's lots going on with commentating, with getting around for the interviews and so on, and it's fantastic. We meet all the people across the league. One of the reasons I chose Division 7, I'm going to pump them up.
Yep.
Let's look at football as football and some of those games out there and some of those players. And we had players coming in winning goal of the year a couple of years ago and so on. So there's some talent around, and there's even the scrubbers that just get out and have a kick, and we welcome them all. They're all part of the Adelaide Footy League, and I'm going to embrace them, Tommy.
Beautiful.
Metaphorically speaking.
I'll tell you what I'm most excited about, that is COVID seems to be in the rear vision mirror, and we don't look backwards. That's why on our emblem, mate, we've got a kangaroo and an emu. We don't go backwards, we look forwards. 70 clubs. Every club has a story, every team has a story, every individual has a story, and we're going to break some of those stories this year, introduce you to some of the great people, and I'm really excited about not only what we can do on this show, but in the live calls and out there in clubland. Looking forward to it all.
So once again, we wouldn't be able to bring this to you without our magnificent sponsors, and there's plenty of them. We hope you've enjoyed the show. It was a little bit different tonight regarding how we presented the interviews and hearing about what's happening around the league, because round 1 starts this week and it's all underway. Remember, find us on social media, and we thank you for viewing.
Hi, I'm Jack Gosson.
Hi, I'm Jack Moore. Hi, I'm Matty Gale.
Thanks for watching Between the Posts. And thanks for watching Between the Posts.
Well, thanks for watching Between the Posts. All clear.